Hey friends, my name is Jake. Welcome to Canadian Cutting Edge, and today we're taking a look at this knife, the FT21 by FreeTiger. This is being recorded after I recorded the rest of the video, so the sharp-eyed among you might find a little problem with this, but it's my fault, and I'll talk about it in the video. But what we have is a full-size folder, access lock. They say it's D2 steel. And FreeTiger has been tested by Lee at LuvThemKnives. At least I believe it has. Text on the screen will tell you if it has been tested and if it's what they claim it to be. There's some really good things about this knife that I think you're going to want to know, especially about teardown and put back together because of the way they made this access lock. Usually access locks are a pain to take apart and put back together. Worst to put back together. So thumb stud deployment, or you can do your fidgeting deployment if you want to. Comfortable handle. So if you're looking for a good utilitarian knife, $28 US, well $27.99 at Amazon. A little bit less at AliExpress right now, but there's a sale going on, and that sale might be ended before you see this video. It may or may not. Depends on how quickly I get this posted. So stay tuned. The full review of the FT21 is coming right now. I should add, FreeTiger and TunaFire, a viewer told me, well, they're the same company. They do have some of the same knives in exactly the same colors, only different branding. For those of you who aren't aware, there's a huge thing happening in the Chinese knife market, and that is OEM knives. That is, there's 4 or 5 major factories in the Chinese knife making district. And one of those factories is, well, probably most of them, all of them. They make a bunch of knives and then they leave them unbranded and they sell them to other companies to brand them. That doesn't mean that those branded companies own each other. It just means they buy their knives from the same factory. That's all that it means. Could they be one company with 2 different brands? Certainly. But it doesn't mean that they are. They could just as likely, probably more likely, be independent little knife companies that are trying to make a name for themselves, but they're buying OEM knives. It's just the way it works. There's even companies like American Buffalo Knife and Tool. They've designed some knives, in-house designed. They're in Tennessee, and they have a Chinese factory make those knives. And I've seen those same knives then sold under other brands, Chinese brands. And I've spoken directly with the owner in person, and yes, this happens. Their design just gets copied and out it goes, but that doesn't mean that American Buffalo Knife and Tool is buying OEM knives. It is a little complex, but there's a whole bunch of various nuance to it. Just doesn't mean that when you see 2 knives with the same name on it that it's the same company. Some people say this is an ugly knife. At least I had that comment, I think, from 3 different people on the unboxing video where I showed this knife off. I don't know if it's ugly or not. I'm one of those guys, I tend to like almost any knife. What I do know is this knife is very utilitarian in its design. The handle is very comfortable, just holding it in a traditional, fist grip if you want to, or hammer grip. Works really well. The forward choil is the perfect size to actually use, and it's comfortable. You've got a nice wide base for your finger so it doesn't create hot spots. Nice jimping on the thumb rest area here and just a tiny bit on the thumb riser. That's good. And then if you want to do hard work, pushing hard, you've got the full thickness of the blade right there for your thumb to rest in there as well. And very comfortable. If you want to push with the tip of your thumb or the bottom of your thumb, it just works. And then when you want to do other grips, you've got jimping on the belly of the handle at the end and at the tail. So a reverse grip, you got a lot of good traction right there. For a reverse puncturing grip. A pull grip is comfortable as well. And, when you're just holding it normally, you still have that extra grip there. And then on the sides, you've got the texture and then that extra milling there. A nice chamfer on the spine, and the belly here is just a very comfortable handle. And you can get a good solid grip on it. The blade shape, it's a beautiful blade shape in terms of functionality. It's got a tip that's designed for piercing, and it's got a bevel that's designed for pretty good slicing. It's not a super slicer. It doesn't have a high enough grind for that, but it's quite well done. It's nice and thin behind the grind, and it's sharpened fairly well. Not terrible, not great, but I wish it was sharpened better, but it isn't. So it is what it is, and I can sharpen this up quite well. Some odd things. First, it's not odd that the thumb studs are removable, but they are. What's odd is there's a T6 screw head on the axis lock here, so the ends screw off. So I tried doing that while the knife was assembled, and no, that causes problems because where the Omni spring is hooked over is part of that same mechanism. So if you start unscrewing it, pulling it out, it creates tension there. But it should be easy to take this knife apart, which I'll do later on. Except for we've got T6 button screws here as well. I don't like button screws, and I don't like T6 especially. This T6 is okay because it's really deep. So you can get that screwdriver in deep and get a good purchase, a good grip on the screw. These, I'll find out when I take it apart how well they come out. And then, of course, there's going to be screws probably into this stop pin here, and then these two body pins back here, or 3 pins. Yeah, it's got 3 of them back there, and then the lanyard holes. So it's potentially got 4 body screws plus the pivot screw. The lanyard hole is not chamfered anywhere. It's not the best lanyard hole, but it's far from the worst I've seen. One little thing that I got to show you is, in my testing, the tip got bent. So if you look straight down like that, maybe the close-up shot that I took will show it, but there's just a slight bend to that tip, and I've not tried to fix it yet. I'll try to fix it and talk about it in this video, but a little bit later on, just in case it breaks off. And I want to show you that, it's okay. So this D2 steel might be a little soft. It might not have been hardened very well because of this bend in here, because I didn't stab it really hard into things. I do, stab tests into wood. It's softwood, usually spruce or fir or whatever, 2x4s. Fresh ones, not old ones. Old 2x4s get harder, by the way. And, it's got a little bend there. So there's that. Oh, I also did, when I tried to take some of the pictures, I punched it into some hardwood as well. That's actually probably when it got bent, yeah. From outdoor pictures, I put it into a tree stump, an apple tree that's dried out wood. So, yeah, that's probably when that happened. So that could be my fault. We'll find out when I sharpen it how soft it is. Because believe it or not, it does feel different when you sharpen a knife. Once you've had experience with it, you can tell how hard a steel is from your sharpening once you've built up enough experience. One thing that I really dislike, the branding. On this side it says FreeTiger. There's 2 lines, model number FT21 D2. I don't like it on the bevel to start with. I think they could have put it here in the ricasso, up here on the flat in nice small letters, just the model number and the D2, because on this side they've got the huge FreeTiger logo. Well, it's not huge, but we don't need a FreeTiger here and another FreeTiger there. FreeTiger, we don't want your name all over our stuff. It's good to have your name on your knife, but 2 times on one blade, that's a little overkill. So yeah, I wish there wasn't that much writing on the knife. And now it's time to do all the measurements and specs and stuff. 137 grams is what this weighs. That's 4.85 ounces. Not bad for a big knife. Factory sharpness, 90 best, better than average. The cutting edge length, 91.9 millimeters, 3.62 inches. The blade length, tip to the handle, 95.9 millimeters, 3.77 inches. Good size blade. The thickness of the blade on the flat section here, 3.1 millimeters. That's 0.122 of an inch. So just a hair under 1/8 of an inch. The blade depth, it's largest right back here at the heel of the blade and above the thumb studs. 31.2 millimeters, 1.23 inches. How thick is it behind the grind? Right there. 0.48 millimeters, 18.5 thousandths of an inch. Yeah, no wonder it slices so well. And it's the same thickness along most of it. Actually gets a little thinner on the belly right there, so that's nice. The grind angles. Okay, yes, I got to give you several numbers again. Starts at 16.8, goes to 19.2, 3/4 of the way, 22.6, and ends at 25.1. And I measured that before this got bent. On this side, 26.5, and then it's about 23.8-ish during most of the knife, and it ends at 26.7. Onto the handle length, and I measure it this way, and that is 121.1 millimeters, 4.77 inches. The grip area back here, just in the handle, about 9.5 or 3 3/4 inches. If you add the forward choil, it's about 11.5 centimeters, about 4.6 inches. The thickness of the handle, not counting the pocket clip, 14.1 millimeters, 0.555 of an inch. That's okay. The handle depth within the grip area here, not counting the forward choil, is 25.6 millimeters, 1.08 inches. And when the knife is closed, the widest point is actually right here, and that is 36.2 millimeters, 1.42 inches. And the total length of the knife is right at 217 millimeters, 8.54 inches. So 8.5 inches, 3 3/4 inch blade, not bad proportions. The balance point is okay. It's right about there. It's not bad for it. Oh, by the way, the price. Amazon has this for $27.99 US. They've only got a few left in stock. And it also comes with a tan G10 and a coated blade if you want, still D2. If you want to buy this from AliExpress, it's less money right now, but there's a sale going on right now. So when you see this video, the sale is either just ended or going to end very soon. So if you're one of the first people to watch this and you know you want it, check out the link. But check it out anyways, just to see if it's still the same price. $22.28 American dollars. They charge $3.16 to mail this to the United States. Let's take the time now. I'm going to stop the video and I'm going to try to fix that curve here, the bend on the tip, and I'm going to sharpen it and tell you what I think of that. Well, guess what happened when I tried to fix that bent tip? That's what happened. I broke the tip off. So what I think I'm going to do is I think I'm going to make a little video on how I fix that. I think there's lots of videos out there already on how to fix broken tips, people that do it all the time. I don't do it very often because I don't break tips very often because I don't usually pry. But this time, you know, I got a little bend in there. When I sharpened it, I just did the coarse sharpening just to, you know, make it 18 degrees per side. It does feel like it's, you know, a decently hard steel. Maybe it's D2 that's too hard. D2, when it gets too hard, it gets brittle. I've got no way of testing the hardness of this blade, so that could easily be it. It could be something else that contributed to the break. Let's go on with this video. Let's take the thing apart and show you the insides now. First, I just took out these two screws and the pivot pin, and there you go. There is only one screw, as well as the screw from the pocket clip right there. So two screws hold it together. That one's just a pin, and these are just pins as well. and it's a D-shaped pivot pin, which I thought because that side's nice and smooth. So now to take this apart. So first, take the Omni spring out of the way because I don't want to wreck that. And I want to see if these come off. Yes, they do. I like this. I like this comes off because it's much easier to take the knife apart while just doing that. It's going to be much easier to put it back together again. So taking this screw out, I know I said I wasn't going to show it on camera, but I knew this part would be nice and quick. So there you go. We've got steel ball bearings, and thankfully it's one of those that's got a bunch in there. So what do we got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10 steel ball bearings. That's quite nice. And that way I can take this back and I can take that out, and it'll be easy to put back together. Those that are like one piece, that pin, they're just a pain to take apart and put back together. To take apart, it's easy enough, but to put them back together is just a royal pain. So there's the pin holding it, and as you close it, it gets in there, and that's why the pin comes back and holds it in place. Opening the knife, pulls it back, and there you go. And I'm going to move the handle, and it slides over. Okay, so it's back together. Those screws performed better than I thought they would. They're actually a little deeper, those button screws, than I thought they were. Not bad. The Omni spring does, sort of slip out of where it's supposed to be held on that access lock arm. So that's not great. So I'll see what I can figure out about that when I fix the blade. It's not good to play too much with Omni springs because they break easily. I didn't do a size comparison at the start of this video. Here's a Ganzo G727M, which is between the sizes of an Ontario Rat 1 and 2. So, this is a bigger knife. It's about the size of a Rat 1. And I won't be getting my Rat 1 back until after I go on my trip this summer. So there you go. I like this knife. Long and short of it is the design I really like. The execution, pretty good. I really do like that these screws are on the access lock arm right there. It's functionally fun. I can play with it, fidget it, open and close it, flicking it back and forth. Thumb stud deployment works good. Lockup is solid. There was a tiny bit side-to-side blade play. I think the pivot screw just needed to be tightened up a little bit, so not really a problem. Alignment when it's closed was very close to perfect. And the only problem I came across really is I bent the tip. Now that's on me. That's not a problem with the FreeTiger blade as far as I can tell at this point. The only thing that it might be is that the steel's a little bit too hard, a little bit too brittle. Pocket clip, I didn't talk about that yet. Here's a pants, and it wants to climb over, and it goes to the depth that it's designed. No problem at all. It works quite well, holds quite well. I think I'd prefer a deep carry clip. And since this thing is so utilitarian, it seems like it's got everything covered, I really would have liked a deep clip that's right and left friendly. Just would be better. That's ambidextrous access lock. Why not make it ambidextrous all the way around? And the other con that bugs me is all the writing on the knife. At least it's not huge like Cold Steel's writing on their knives, but still, you don't need FreeTiger twice on a knife. So that's this knife. So thanks, friends, for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. You guys are awesome. You also have the choice of becoming a YouTube member. If you don't like Patreon, just click join below the video and you'll get the same benefits that my Patreon supporters get. And there are some good benefits. Thanks for liking, sharing, commenting, subscribing, and remember, friends, cut towards your chum, not your thumb.